January 24, 2026, 0847 hours. Scarborough Shaw sits somewhere beneath choppy waters. But the Philippine Coast Guard crew isn't watching the reef. They're watching Plan's Zibo slice through morning haze like a blade. The Type 052D destroyer angles toward them, bow wave building white and angry. Not the usual slow circle harassment. This trajectory aims straight at Teresa Magbanua's midsection. The 97-meter patrol vessel's engines hum their normal patrol rhythm, peaceful, routine. Then Zibo's turbines roar to combat speed. White water churns at the warship's stern. The Chinese vessel pours on speed, closing music like a predator that spotted wounded prey. Teresa Magbanua's officer of the deck grabs binoculars. Music counts the seconds between glances at the advancing warship. His hands shake. Evasive maneuvers. The captain's voice cracks over the loudspeaker. The cutter's helm spins hard to port. Older engines strain, propellers thrashing against resisting ocean. But physics doesn't negotiate. The gray predator eats the distance faster than the Filipino vessel can turn. Gap evaporates from half a nautical mile to close enough to see individual sailors on Zibo's bridge wings. 30 seconds. That's all it takes. Metal screams as Teresa Mua's hull protests the emergency turn. Deck plates vibrate. Coffee mugs slide across navigation table, crash to the floor. Someone shouts coordinates into the radio. Mayday traffic, music directed toward USS Chaffee's position, 15 Miss East. The American destroyer is too far. Everyone knows it. Zibo shows no sign of altering course. The warship's bow rises and falls with each swell, aimed like a spear at the patrol vessel's vulnerable plating. 300 men separate them now, then 200. Sunlight glints off the Chinese destroyer's gray paint. Fresh, maintained, intimidating. Filipino sailors scramble across deck. Some grip orange life deservers with white knuckles. Men, mechanic Juan Reyes, 24 years old, married 3 months, reaches into his pocket, touches the corner of his wife's photo through the fabric, doesn't pull it out, doesn't need to see her face to remember. Others stare transfixed at the oncoming warship's towering superstructure. That music now blots out the eastern horizon. The Type 052D measures music 157 ms long, displaces 7,500 tons. Teresa Magbanua stretches just music 97 ms, displaces 1,300 tons. David meets Goliath in open water, no sling, no music stones. The radio operator's voice rises in pitch, transmitting position music coordinates a second time. Static hisses back. Then USS Chaffee's acknowledgement. Calm, professional, impossibly distant. American helicopter already spinning up. Rescue swimmers preparing equipment. Music. Chaffee accelerating to flank speed. None of it will matter in the next 40 seconds. Zibo's bow cuts through a swell. Spray erupting along the hull. The warship maintains perfect heading. No deviation, no uncertainty. Space between the vessels vanishes. Officers on both ships can now see each other's faces without magnification. Reyes watches a Chinese sailor on Zibo's forward deck. Young, maybe his age, adjusting a camera mounted on a tripod, recording this, recording them. The destroyer's wake spreads across restless ocean. Music. White foam marking the aggressor's path. Teresa Magbanua's captain grips the rail. His crew braces against bulkheads, against chairs, against reality. The patrol vessel's engines scream at maximum output. But the turn comes too slow, too late, too futile. They're breathing down their stern now. Close enough to hear Zibo's ventilation systems over the wind. Close enough to see weapons mounted along the destroyer's deck. Close enough to count portholes. Close enough for Reyes to read the hull number painted in white. 156. The Philippine captain opens his mouth to issue another order. The destroyer's reinforced bow hits the Philippine vessel's starboarded side at 17 knots. Metal screams and the Philippine vessel's hull crumples like foil. The collision force punches through patrol vessel's plating. Steel folds inward, rivets shearing with sounds like gunshots. Seawater floods the engine compartment within seconds. Cold, relentless, claiming machinery and crawl space and hope. Reyes is thrown against the bulkhead. His shoulder hits steel. Pain shoots down his arm, but he barely registers it. Water already ankle-deep in the compartment, rising fast. Teresa Magbonis lists hard to starboard. Music deck tilts at 30 to. Gravity shifts and sailors slide across wet surfaces, grabbing railings and hatch covers and each other. The cutter groans deep, resonant, final. Abandoned ship. The captain's voice booms through the loudspeaker, surprisingly steady despite circumstances. 23 Filipino sailors leap into rolling swells wearing orange life vests. Reyes scrambles up the tilting deck, hand over hand on the rail. Water chases him. He can hear it, a rushing, consuming sound. Some slide down the angled deck, feet scrabbling for purchase against painted steel. Others jump directly, pushing off from railings to clear the sinking music hull. They hit wave-tossed surface hard. Plumes of white spray mark each impact. Reyes jumps music 3M down to cold gray water. The ocean swallows him, shockingly cold, stealing his breath. He surfaces, gasping, life vest yanking him up. His ship is right there, breaking apart, dying. The ocean swallows them, then spits them back up, gasping. Teresa Magbona breaks apart. Stress fractures race along the keel where music Zibo's bow struck deepest. The stern section separates from the bow with a grinding tear that echoes across music empty horizon. Both pieces slip beneath the agitated ocean within 4 minutes. $28 million patrol vessel disappears, leaving only debris field and swimming sailors and spreading oil slick that catches morning sunlight in rainbow patterns. The gray predator circles the music wreckage. Zibo's crew films the sinking with handheld cameras. Several sailors visible along the rail, music pointing at struggling Filipino swimmers below. The same young Chinese sailor Reyes saw earlier. Camera still rolling, lens pointed down at them in the water, recording, documenting, not helping. No rescue boats deploy from the Chinese destroyer. No life rings thrown, just documentation and observation and circling. Filipino heads bob among waves. Life vests keep them afloat, but hypothermia counts minutes, not hours. Reyes treads water, already feeling the cold seep through his uniform. His fingers start to tingle, then go numb. Some sailors cling to floating debris, chair cushions, wooden planks, anything buoyant. Others tread water alone, watching the warship that destroyed their home orbit like a shark. Then another sound cuts the air. Rotor blades. USS Chaffee arrives at flank speed. The American destroyer's bow wave, music, massive and urgent. The Arleigh Burke-class warship's helicopter already hovers above debris field. Music rescue swimmers prepared at the open cabin door, but Zibo maintains position in the wreckage zone, blocking direct approach. The Chinese vessel holds its ground, deliberate territorial. Chaffee's captain broadcasts on Emergency Channel 16, voice transmitted clear and hard. Plan Zibo. Clear the rescue area immediately or prepare to be boarded under international maritime law. Silence answers, then static, then more silence. Music. Zibo's captain refuses to move. The Type 052D maintains slow circle through debris. Cameras still recording, sailors still watching. Below, Filipino crew members tread water between two destroyers, caught in geopolitical standoff measured in hull lengths and unspoken threats. Reyes can't feel his hands anymore, can't feel his feet. He dips beneath a wave, comes up coughing, his teeth start to chatter. Can't stop them. The American helicopter orbits wider, pilots seeking approach vector that doesn't overfly the Chinese warship. Seconds tick past, Filipino sailors dip beneath waves, resurface, dip again, exhaustion setting in, cold setting in, execute rescue operation. Chaffee's commander orders, all swimmers deploy. The rescue swimmer hits the water 10 meters from Reyes, strong strokes, professional. I got you, buddy, you're safe now. Arms around him, harness clipped, the basket descends, the American helicopter drops rescue swimmers into the agitated ocean. 75 ft below, Chinese sailors watch from Zibo's main deck as U.S. Navy personnel pull Filipinos from the water. All 23 Filipino sailors retrieved alive, hypothermic, but breathing. The American helicopter flies them to USS Music Chaffee's flight deck in 3 loads, medical teams wrapping each survivor in Music thermal blankets the moment boots touch steel. Reyes is in the second load. They, Music, wrap him in silver foil that crinkles with every shiver. He can't stop shaking. A Navy Music corpsman checks his pupils, takes his pulse. "You're going to be fine. Just cold. We'll warm you up." Some cough up seawater, others shake violently, bodies compensating for temperature drop. None speak much. Below, Teresa Magbon's final pieces settle on seafloor 100 m down. Crushed hull, scattered equipment. Evidence. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Chen Wei appears on state television 3 hours later. Philippine vessel violated Chinese territorial waters and ignored repeated warnings. Collision was defensive Music measure. The statement triggers immediate responses. Manila, Washington, Tokyo. Within 6 hours, legal teams mobilize, but the ocean doesn't care about statements. USS Chaffee maneuvers alongside Zibo, close enough that crews could throw lines between vessels if circumstances were different. The American destroyer broadcasts new message. Prepare for boarding under UNCLOS Article 97. Investigation of collision at sea, resulting in vessel destruction. A rigid hull inflatable boat launches from Chaffee's stern. Armed U.S. Navy sailors carry detention orders printed on official letterhead. The small craft bounces across swells, engine whining, spray-coating wind screens. Zibo's crew stands at the rail, watching the Americans approach. No weapons raised, no aggressive posturing, just waiting. The boarding team climbs aboard via accommodation ladder, boots on Chinese deck, hands on sidearms. Officer presents documentation to Zibo's captain, a trim man in Music his 40s who accepts the papers without reading them. 25 destroyer sailors taken into custody. 3 officers, 22 enlisted, international maritime law violations, failure to render assistance, reckless navigation resulting in vessel loss. They descend the ladder peacefully, board the American boat, transferred to Chaffee's forward compartment where temporary detention cells await. The Chinese sailors sit on steel bunks silent. Some stare at bray walls, others at their hands. One officer stands, moves to the small porthole, sees only ocean. The rumble of their own Navy ships somewhere out there transmitted through the hull, a sound they know. But they're on the wrong side of it now. The process takes 37 minutes. Methodical, documented, witnessed. Both destroyers steam toward neutral Philippine waters, careful Music to avoid features claimed by multiple nations. Detained Chinese sailors held under guard while diplomatic cables flood between Beijing, Manila, and Washington. Maritime lawyers already drafting tribunal briefs citing UNCLOS Article 97 precedent cases. Music censor data. The Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague receives formal notification, case number assigned, timeline established, months of proceedings scheduled. But none of that matters. In Music, the next 20 minutes, 3 more Chinese warships appear on western horizon. Type 0555, Music cruiser flanked by 2 frigates forming line of breast, 7 ME out and closing Music at standard patrol speed. No radio contact, no stated intentions, just gray hulls cutting through afternoon Music light. On Chaffee's flight deck, Reyes stands wrapped in his thermal blanket, watching the approaching formation. Music. His rescued crewmates gather beside him, 23 survivors, 23 witnesses. Nobody speaks. They just watched the gray shapes grow larger. USS Chaffee maintains course with detained sailors aboard. The helicopter refuels on flight deck. Crew preparing for potential second mission. American radar operators call out decreasing range. Weapons officers stand ready at their consoles. On the bridge, Chaffee's captain watches the tactical display, fingers drumming once against the armrest. Just once the distance shrinks, 6 men are 5-4 and 1-2 in the detention compartment below the Chinese officer at the porthole hears the engine note change, recognizes it. Type 055 cruiser, their flagship, close. He doesn't turn from the window, just listens. The Type 055 cruiser's forward turrets rotate. Twin barrels tracking Chaffee's bridge with mechanical precision. 4 miles now, 3.5. The movement is slow, deliberate, unmistakable. Reyes grips the thermal blanket tighter around his shoulders. The silver foil crinkles in his shaking hands, but he's not shaking from cold anymore. He watches those gun turrets track. Watches the gray formation spread across 5 mi of ocean. Thinks about his wife in Manila, about the photo still in his pocket, probably ruined by seawater. Above him on the bridge, the American captain's fingers drum the armrest again, twice this time. The new Chinese formation spreads across 5 meters of ocean. Music, radio silence, absolute. Intentions unknown.